Looking for the ultimate game night? Chumba Casino brings all the fun and excitement of a night out straight to your screen whenever you want it. Play hundreds of thrilling games instantly. No downloads, no delays. Just launch from your browser and dive right in. From spinning slots and playing blackjack to instant scratch tile cards or joining live social tables, there's always something new to explore. Signing up takes just seconds and you'll unlock a free welcome bonus plus daily login bonuses to keep the fun going every time you play. Play for pure entertainment or for a chance to score some serious prizes anytime, anywhere. And here's the best part. No purchase required to join or play. So what are you waiting for? Make tonight one to remember. Head to ChumbaCasino.com and bring the fun home. Let's Chumba. Sponsored by VGW Group. No purchase necessary. See terms at ChumbaCasino.com. Must be over 21 and present in a state where it's legal to play.
Looking for these better days.
It is Wednesday, October 8th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. The New York Yankees stave off elimination with a come-from-behind victory in historic fashion against the Toronto Blue Jays. Meanwhile, the Seattle Mariners are one win away from going to the American League Championship Series. And the first night of the NHL regular season proved to be a good one for our little system. And you know what, Mackenzie? We have a system play tonight in the NHL. Plus, the Trench Report is out for week number 6 in the NFL. We will give you all those numbers coming up here in just a few minutes. Mackenzie Rivers is with me, Scott Seidenberg, here on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel. And Mac, let's just go over some of the historic numbers that occurred last night in the New York Yankees come-from-behind win over the Toronto Blue Jays. So the Yankees were trailing 6-1 in this game last night. They come back to win 9-6. It is the first loss for the Blue Jays this season when they had at least a 4-run lead in a game. So there's one there. The Yankees became the first team in Major League Baseball postseason history to be down by 5 or more runs, in danger of being swept, and win that game. Teams in that role. So you're about to get swept in the postseason. You are down 5 or more runs. They were 0-38 all time prior to last night's Yankee come-from-behind win. Oh, and by the way, Aaron Judge hit a home run last night, which was a massive moment for Aaron Judge, hitting a 3-run home run to tie the game. But it was one of the most rarest home runs you will ever see in Major League Baseball. It was a 99.7 mile per hour pitch that was 1.2 feet from the center of the plate. Okay. Not only was it the fastest pitch that Aaron Judge has ever homered on in his career, regular or postseason.
Wow. Never hit a 100 mile per hour fastball out. Wow.
Yeah. Not only was that, it was also the furthest inside or outside pitch that he's homered on in his career. And if you look at pitches that were that fast and that far off the plate, no one has ever hit a home run in the pitch tracking error on a 99-plus mile per hour pitch that was 1.2 feet inside.
It looked like it physically couldn't have homered in any other exact place besides on the foul pole.
It's unbelievable. Like this is the first time that that pitch has ever been hit for a home run. And what a moment for Aaron Judge, who's having a really good postseason. Like he's already set his record for the most hits in a career in a postseason. He's batting over 500 in the postseason right now. But everyone's been waiting. It's like you got to hit the home run. You got to hit the big moment, right? You got to do something when it counts. And last night it counted. A massive moment, massive sigh of relief. And I think, Matt, going into tonight's game, I think all the pressure's on the Toronto Blue Jays. This is a bullpen day for them here tonight. Meanwhile, the Yankees will have Cam Schlittler on the mound. And with the Jays using a ton of relievers last night and a ton of relievers in game number 2, the Yankees have now seen everybody. And the more times you see a relief pitcher, the more comfortable you're going to be as a batter. I think the Yankees have a massive edge in this game tonight, and so do the markets. Up on FanDuel right now, the Yankees minus 166 favorites, and I promise you throughout the day today, that line will increase.
Plus 185 to advance. I got to say, 3-0 Yankees when they're facing elimination. I think plus 185 is a good deal. I think minus 180 is a good deal just for today as well. I mean, I would say this. The Yankees, you would say, oh, wow, what an unbelievable comeback. I was not shocked. They have an amazing lineup. Like, it seemed like every other day in the beginning of the season, they were putting up 20 runs or they were doing something that's never been done before. It's rare to have a guy hitting 500 in the postseason or at all as good as Aaron Judge. There's been like 5 this past century or so. And it's rare to have just a general lineup with Giancarlo Stanton, who's actually, by the way, the active leader in OPS for any MLB player in the postseason, and he didn't even have a good game. But yeah, the Yankees are scary, and I feel like they have the weights off them. Like, it was such a bad year. I mean, do you agree? It seemed like they're like the 2004 Red Sox. They're just like having fun out there.
Not only were the Yankees great yesterday, but Vlad Jr. also became the second player in baseball history with a home run and multiple RBIs in each of the first 3 games of a single postseason, as he homered in 3 straight games here in this series. But I love the Yankees to force a game number 5 back in Toronto, and then it'll probably be the rematch between Max Fried and Kevin Gausman, and we'll see what happens in that game number 5. But for Cam Schlittler on the mound tonight for the Yankees against a bullpen day for the Toronto Blue Jays, I absolutely
Is that cautious optimism I detect out of Scott Seidenberg?
Yeah. Yes.
You're being very cautious, but I can tell there's a little optimism there.
It is. Elsewhere yesterday, as I mentioned, the Mariners are one win away from the American League Championship Series. They beat the Tigers 8-4, and they will look to wrap up the series today with Bryce Miller on the mound for them, going up against Casey Mize, who will look to stave off elimination here for the Detroit Tigers. And right now up on FanDuel, the Tigers are minus 120 favorites. The Brewers will look to finish off a sweep of the Chicago Cubs. Quinn Preister is on the mound for the Brewers, and Jameson Taillon for the Cubs. Cubbies are minus 120. Total of 6.5 in that game in Chicago. Total of 8.5 in the game in Detroit. Yankees total against the Blue Jays is also at 8.5. And then the Phillies will look to avoid elimination tonight when they take on the Dodgers in LA. Aaron Nola is on the mound for the Phillies. Yamamoto goes for the Dodgers. Dodgers minus 174 with a total of 8. Do you think the Dodgers complete the sweep tonight, Mackenzie?
Nah, Bryce Harper ain't going out like that. He, by the way, was the leader in OPS before. I look at this stuff before the playoffs, but he's had a little bit of a cold start to the playoffs. So he's out there to retake his crown. Nola's a good pitcher. I feel like they stave off elimination.
Yeah, I'd like to see it happen. I'd like to see another game. I don't want to see the series come to a close. Well, the NHL regular season began last night, Mackenzie, and we went 3-0 up on betterday.com. So a great start to the season. The underdogs on the puck line came through as the Blackhawks lost 3-2 to the Panthers, but covered the 1.5 puck line. The Penguins were a underdog, but we took them on the plus 1.5 on the puck line. They just won outright against the Rangers, 3-0. And then the Avalanche, it was a coin flip spread that kind of went back and forth, and when we gave it out, it was at plus 102. We just played the Avalanche on the money line. We weren't going to lay minus $2 to do Avalanche plus a goal and a half, and by the time the pod was released, it was actually minus 1.5. They weren't even the dogs, essentially, but the Avalanche do get a win over the LA Kings last night, and so we start the season 3-0. Maybe we should just quit now, right? That's it. No more hockey bets. Yeah. We're undefeated, 100%.
Great 2025. You can't even say 2025-26. The great 2025 season. 3-0.
Well, we love our systems here on Better Day. And in the NHL, if you've been following along with myself, from various stops, wherever Mackenzie and I get together and chat about some things, that we bring up the systems all the time, right? Whatever sport it is, we find a way to get the edge. We look at the historical data and we come up with the system plays. Well, Mackenzie, tonight we have our first system play in the NHL. If you recall, last season I made folks aware of a particular system involving our Vegas Golden Knights. And what that system was when our Vegas Golden Knights are hosting a team playing on the second night of a back-to-back. What happens? VGK wins and VGK dominates. Last season, teams coming to Vegas for the second night of a back-to-back went 2-9 straight up, 3-8 on the puck line. Their games, by the way, were 8-2-1 to the under because those road teams were only averaging 2 goals per game. If you go back to the 2023 season, the teams on the second night of a back-to-back here in Vegas, 2-7 straight up, 3-6 on the puck line. So in the last 2 seasons, we do the math, that's 4-16 straight up, 6-14 on the puck line. We go back to the start of the 2021 season post-COVID, Mackenzie, 13-25 straight up. I mean, these numbers just, they jump out to you. And this makes sense.
Makes a lot of
right?
sense.
And
I would like to thank South Point for having that amazing, I'm sure this is where they're going, what, $7 steak and eggs? Like, you get in at 2 a.m., it's a long season, you want to enjoy Vegas a little bit, see the girls. I'd like to thank South Point for this amazing trend.
And look, Mac, you're joking a little bit, but I do think there's something to it. The reason why...
Maybe they go to Cosmo. Maybe it's just me that goes to South Point late at night.
The reason why I think a system like this makes sense is because when teams, you play a game at night, whatever city you're in, and most of the time it's West Coast. Most of the time we're talking about the Kings, we're talking about the Utah Hockey Club, formerly Arizona.
What are they? Coyotes used to be?
They're the Mammoth, the Utah Mammoth, Mackenzie. Get
wow.
it right, okay?
Wow.
The Mammoth.
I got to get used to that.
Formerly Arizona, right? Seattle maybe sometimes. But these are the teams that would play, Anaheim. These are the teams that would play the back-to-backs in Vegas. And tonight we have the Kings. The Kings played last night against the Avalanche at home in LA. They lost, and now they're traveling to Vegas to take on the Knights tonight. So the theory is, and this is the ideology behind this, is maybe these teams, they get in whatever hour of the night they get in. We know Vegas, much like New York, Toronto, and by the way, speaking of Toronto, also a very good trend in Toronto. I'll give you the numbers in just a moment. Really? But these cities are 24-hour cities, right? So
especially if you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
So or hockey players, what, high 100,000, 800, 900,000
they make good money. They make good money. So no matter what time of night you get in, you check into your hotel, you might go out for a late dinner, right? And then maybe you don't go for the morning skate. Maybe it's just, I don't know. It's whatever you're doing.
It's a long season.
Exactly. And so the data shows us that we are going to back the Golden Knights. We're going to play them on the puck line tonight. We're going to take a nice little plus money price at plus 124. We're going to go with these trends, and we're going to back the Knights here on the puck line against the Kings playing the second night of a back-to-back here in Vegas. Now, the biggest trends here for the second nights in back-to-back are Vegas, Colorado, and Toronto. Colorado's the big one. And this is the one that the NHL wants to stop. Like, they want to avoid having teams play the second of a back-to-back in Colorado because the elevation kills you.
But Joel Embiid has not played a game in Denver, I think, in like a decade.
The NBA players say no. No thanks. The NBA players don't want to play. I will not
step foot in that state.
NHL players don't have that same luxury, right? So since 2021, teams playing the second night of a back-to-back in Colorado against the Avalanche, 4-21 straight up, 5-20 on the puck line. This is the dream scenario, okay? So whenever we will identify a team playing the second of a back-to-back in Colorado against the Avalanche, it is a hammer spot. The other city would be Toronto. Since the start of the 2021 season, second night of a back-to-back playing in Toronto, 5-24 straight up. Now, on the puck line, these teams are actually doing well, 19-10 on the puck line.Maybe that says a lot about Toronto not being able to win with margin, but 5-24 straight up is a really bad straight up record in the last 5 years. So, more so, Colorado and Vegas are the ones that we are attacking, but Toronto is something that should be on our radar as well. So tonight is the first system play of the 2025 NHL season as we are backing the Vegas Golden Knights on the puck line against the LA Kings. Here's the rest of your schedule for tonight here in the NHL. Canadiens are at the Maple Leafs. Toronto is minus 165. The Bruins visit the Capitals. Washington minus 190. Flames are at the Oilers. Edmonton minus 215. And yes, the Oilers have the new contract for Connor McDavid. Everybody's all happy there in Edmonton, getting ready to make a Stanley Cup run once again, possibly. We'll see. The NHL season is underway. The NBA season is fast approaching, and Mackenzie Rivers is working on a very interesting project when it comes to the NBA. So, Mac, I want to give you a couple of minutes here to kind of preview what you've been working on here in the NBA, because we're talking about modeling and predicting things, and obviously we're going to get to the trench report. The numbers are out here for week number 6 in the NFL, so we'll get to some NFL and the trench report coming up. But what have you been working on here with the NBA season coming up?
And the trench report, I think, will get better as we get more data. And that's what I'm thinking about when it comes to the NBA, which is I kind of feel like I cracked the code on how I've been successful in the NBA, 56, 57%, 56.9% if I want to be honest with it. The last 4 years, handicapping, giving out my picks, check me out on Twitter. I've really looked at what I got to give Jim Cramer credit for, the stock picker, this concept, which is when you're looking for new companies to invest in, one of the best places to look is the new high list, it's called, which is these companies are doing better and better than they've ever done before. So like the Overton window, the paradigm of how much value is in these companies, like a Shopify or a Trade Desk, more so Shopify these days, like they're going to expand how good they are. The same exact thing is how I've been successful in the NBA, which is I've looked at the year-to-date numbers. I'm very well versed in how teams have done year-to-date, or the last couple years, I think is more important, and how they've done the last month and how they've done the last 2 weeks. Because teams like the Celtics in 2021, I could look and be like, they're winning every game by 14 points a game. I see something repeatable here. The market hasn't caught up. They're 3-4 points higher, and they're going to quickly, their power rating is going to go up, and then the value will be gone. But the new high list, and the same thing with the Clippers last year in the winter. Kind of faded for me in the playoffs, although we did all right. Made a 7th game. But the Clippers were suddenly, when Kawhi was back, 12 points better than their competitions per game. Only the Thunder were better in the second half of the year. So that's the basis of this model, which is looking at margins and looking at the last X amount of games. I'll keep my proprietary formula a little secret for now, and say, all right, how they've done. However, a key caveat is the 3-point variance in any couple week sample is such a big deal in the NBA, where they're taking 48, 50% of their shots from three, and it's largely non-predictive. If you're a good shooter, you're a good shooter, but if you're 40%, couple weeks you're going to be 50%, couple weeks you're going to be 30%. It's hard to figure. But if you account for that, if you're like, all right, this team's done a lot better, but they've been red hot from three, and their opponents have been very cold from three, they haven't done any better. They've just gotten lucky. So you kind of eliminate that, or adjust for that, rather. It's a negative to be really good from three recently, even though it's a positive to be really good in general recently, and 3 points are going to have something to do with that. If you account for that, then, this model beats the line. I trained it on one season, I tried it on another season, and it just beat the line. And I'm like, man, I wish I had played 2,000 games last year. That would have been fun with this kind of ratio. So yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Can't wait to see it. We'll get some of that stuff for you guys up on betterday.com eventually when the NBA season comes along. But this is some really interesting high-level stuff that Mackenzie has been working on. And just in general, Mac, he gave you the numbers, 56, 57% over the last, 3+ seasons in the NBA?
3.5 years. Took a half year off, but yeah, 3.5 years.
3.5 years handicap in the NBA. It's hard to find anybody who has been as successful as Mackenzie Rivers. So definitely looking forward to that. All right, Mackenzie, let's talk NFL, and let's get to the week 6 trench report.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
The NFL Week 6 Trench Report is out up on BetterDay.com exclusively for you Better Day subscribers. And I know the last video that I posted on social media, some of you were a little critical about because there were some different teams that I had talked about as being top tier matchups in the week number 5 Trench Report. Well, last Wednesday, we recalibrated the numbers and we refined the data, and that gave us the top 5 mismatches for week number 5 in the NFL for the Trench Report. And I said that moving forward in the Circa Millions contest, I'm going to play the top 5 Trench Report mismatches as my 5 selections. Well, in the first week of this experiment, we went 4-1. 4-1 straight up in ATS, the Week 5 NFL Trench Report, with the only loss being the Arizona Cardinals, the absolute vomit-inducing loss that was for the Arizona Cardinals, but 3 outright underdog wins in the Broncos over the Eagles, the Commanders over the Chargers, and the Jaguars over the Kansas City Chiefs. And so without further ado, let's get to the Week 6 top 5 biggest mismatches. Now, the Trench Report is formulated by combining 3 advanced metrics: the PFF grades, which update every single week, ESPN's pass block and run block and pass rush and run stuff win rates, which also get updated every single week, and NFL's next gen stats, which is all of the data that is from the actual games that are played. So yeah, obviously everything's updated every single week. Here are your top 5 mismatches for week number 6. And I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed because it's all favorites. So it's easy to say, hey, it's all favorites that are coming up here in the top mismatches, but let's be honest.
You had your 3 underdog winners, straight up winners. Don't be greedy. Take what you get.
Exactly. But let's be honest. As we get more data and as we progress throughout the season, it makes sense that it's going to identify the favorites because the better teams should start to separate themselves. And so
just like my NBA model, it just struck me. There's margin, and then there's explanatory variables of why that margin was created. The Trench Report isn't a lucky 90-yard play. It's something that is dozens of plays of every game that determine each of these metrics. It's just a way of looking at margin. How good are these teams? But this is more predictive than just how good are these teams based on their scoring margin.
Exactly. So here are your top 5 mismatches from the Week 6 Trench Report. The Denver Broncos over the New York Jets. The New England Patriots over the New Orleans Saints. The Green Bay Packers over the Cincinnati Bengals. Washington Commanders over the Chicago Bears. And the Los Angeles Rams over the Baltimore Ravens. Now, it's worth noting that only 2 of these games are what I call a grade A mismatch, which are the massive mismatches, the largest discrepancy in the composite scoring system that is the NFL Trench Report. So the 2 grade A mismatches were the Denver Broncos over the New York Jets and the New England Patriots over the New Orleans Saints. The rest of the matchups were a little lesser in value, kind of grade B games, and that would be Packers over the Bengals, Commanders over the Bears, and Rams over the Baltimore Ravens. Mackenzie, any of those matchups jump out to you? Obviously, I don't think you're surprised by any of those because they're all favorites in these games, but what do you make of the top 5 for this week?
Right. How big of a favorites are they? And how big is the disadvantage represented in the numbers? I think Broncos-Jets sounds about right. I think Patriots has a lot of value at only 3.5 because they just went toe-to-toe with the Bills. Arguably, they got lucky, but they should have at least lost by 3. I mean, they were in that game, however you want to splice it. And I feel like a lot of people are warded off by a line at 3.5, especially on the road, which is why there's value. Since 2012, 56.5%. If you're only betting road 3.5-point favorites. Since 2021, 28-21, including my best bet last week on the Vikings. I guess that was a neutral. But people are like, oh, the hook. I don't want to lose by 3. There's so many scenarios in your mind you could imagine losing by 3. But it happens less often than you think. The Patriots are just a way better team than the Saints. And I'm not worried about the noise in Caesars, Mercedes-Benz, whatever it is. It's not what it used to be in New Orleans right now. They suck.
Yeah, and the Broncos Jets game is in London, so a neutral site. So obviously no advantage there. And I agree with that line. I mean, laying 7, I don't think I have an issue with that at all. The Jets have proven to be absolutely putrid this season. The other matchups, I mean, the Packers are 14-point favorites over the Cincinnati Bengals, and I know the Bengals just acquired a new quarterback. Hey, Joe Flacco's coming into the building. Maybe he's going to be the savior.
The line moved a little bit, moved from 14.5 to 14. Is he just going to walk in and be like, "What's the playbook?" Doesn't matter. Throw that out of here.
I mean, if he plays, isn't this better for the Packers? Isn't this better for the Trench Report? He's immobile. The Packers pass rush against, as bad as the Bengals offensive line has been, it feels like this is a disaster if it's Joe Flacco at quarterback.
I put up on my Twitter, I do an average of QBR and PFF. Along with pregame.com. I probably will get sued if I don't say that. They pay me $20 an hour, so I got to say that. But Joe Flacco's the 30th best quarterback by this metric, combining PFF and QBR. Jake Browning's the 31st. So, what did we accomplish with this trade? I don't know.
I have no idea. But this would be, it's a big number to lay here, but it feels like it's the right number to lay here with the Green Bay Packers. Also, massive rest advantage. We talk about that all the time. The Packers are coming off of a bye, so that gives them the added boost here. And they're at home, and the Bengals are just an absolute disaster. So it's a big number, but it kind of feels like it's worth it. Commanders over the Bears. Washington right now up on FanDuel is a 4.5-point home favorite. I know that I think there's 4.5 pretty much across the board, but I mean, how could you not be impressed with Washington so far this season? And with Jaden Daniels back, you would expect now another week to get treatment and rehab from the injury. You would expect, I think, in my opinion at least, I think Jaden Daniels is going to be better this week than he was last week.
And I think the Bears are worse than we think. I mean, they had that win at home that they had to have against the Cowboys. What was their other win? I know they're 2-2. Oh, yeah, against the Raiders was one of the worst performances statistically of any team that won in the last few years. Yeah. I feel like they're a fugazi, and the Commanders did it without Jaden Daniels, and he's every bit the savior he looked like that he was last year. So you're combining upgrade for the rest of the team, more data confirming what we know about Jaden Daniels. Yeah, I think this is the only thing I don't like about it's in Washington. I've always faded Washington in Washington. I think that stadium sucks. But on a neutral, I'd lay 4.5 with the Commanders.
And the fifth, number 5 mismatch is the Rams over the Ravens, and Baltimore has been just an absolute disaster. And I know that they made a trade yesterday, right? They're trying to shore up their defense, trying to figure some things out. So they traded Owe to the Chargers to bring in Alohi Gilman, who's a safety. I guess that's maybe it's gonna help their pass defense. I don't know. This is just, I found myself asking a lot of questions watching that performance against the Texans last week, Mackenzie. Like the effort level, the missed tackles, the bad routes on, just everything to me. I don't know. I'm not going to say that Harbaugh lost the team because that's such a negative thing to say about a guy who's a Hall of Fame coach. But dude, this it can't get worse in Baltimore right now.
He is a Hall of Fame coach, right? And if you go back to the coach versus, I always liked him better than his brother, but that was a questionable holding call that gave him his Super Bowl. It could have easily been Jim Harbaugh holding the trophy. And then he probably doesn't last past the Flacco phase. And also, what does he do? Like, we're going to fire the defensive coordinator because they're the worst defense in the league. He was actually on defense after he was on special teams, although he's known as a special teams guy. And he doesn't coach offense. So what does he exactly do? That's why he doesn't want to fire the DC, because, it looks bad. I guess he's a Hall of Fame coach because he coached forever, and he has a good record, and he won 1 Super Bowl. It's such a big deal, not winning 0. I'm not bitter or anything, but I don't know. I feel like he might be a fugazi at this point. I said it. Shots fired. Come at me, Ravens.
So that means that this week number 2 of this quarter in the Circa Millions contest, after going 4-1 in the first quarter, that means that I am going to be playing these 5 favorites. And
we got your 5. I mean, it's official.
Yep. Yeah. No, this is what I'm doing for the next 4 weeks. I started with week 1. This is it. We are playing the top
Was
5
4-1 your
mismatches.
best week out of the 5?
Out of the yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't had a 5-0 week yet in the contest. So
But
4-1
first
was
week
a
doing
great
this,
week.
4-1. That's pretty good early returns.
Now, if you recall, this is another reason why I'm kind of not worried about this, because remember last season, it was a historic season for favorites, right?
Yep.
That's what we talked about. It was a historic season for favorites last year. But when did that start to turn around? It was
Has it?
week 5 and week 6 last year.
Oh, when it started to turn around for 4 favorites, yeah.
Yes.
For favorites doing well, yeah.
That was when it started to happen, where the favorites started to dominate. Like early in the season, it was, whoa, okay, like the dogs are having their days, and we had all these
massive carnage in Survivor the first few weeks, and then nothing.
But then it was all favorites. And in fact, in week 6 of last year, favorites went 12-2 straight up, 10-3-1 against the spread. So, week 6, the Trench Report is identifying 5 favorites. I'm not worried. I'm not worried about it. Now, for those of you that do want an underdog play, because we love, looking at like the dogs, the biggest mismatch for an underdog, because there actually isn't a lot of big mismatches this week. But the biggest mismatch for an underdog would be the Detroit Lions over the Kansas City Chiefs. The Trench Report shows the Lions with a 12.9 composite score edge over the Kansas City Chiefs. That grades out as a C, notable advantage. And that would be a dog if you're looking to take the points with somebody
and
right
that
now.
is more of a dog now. The line increased from Chiefs -1.5 to Chiefs by 2.5.
Yep.
Which is kind of curious because the Jaguars obviously get an upgrade. They won. They beat the champs or whatever, the AFC champs. They went from pick'em to now -1.5 versus the Seahawks. At the same time, the market upgraded the Chiefs too. They went from 1.5 to 2.5. I guess offense is king. Both offenses look good on Monday night.
And it's the idea that the Chiefs aren't going to lose 2 straight games.
Right, yeah. It's almost that NBA-style rebound effect for a losing Chiefs team. Yeah, Steph Curry of the NBA.
It's like, all right, the Chiefs lost the first 2 games to start the year. Like, are they going to have another 2-game losing streak? Like, is that going to happen? And also, I guess it won't be 2 straight losses at Arrowhead, but they're home.
Yeah, they already lost one of these heavyweight matchups at Arrowhead, yeah.
Yep. So I guess that's the reason why we can see the line movement here. Your rushing mismatches, if you're looking at some running back props here, Rams over the Ravens. So we're looking at Kyren Williams. Bills over the Falcons. James Cook. Panthers over the Cowboys. And, I mean, what a week last week for Rico Dowdle. And how about Rico Dowdle going up against his former team here in the Cowboys? So that could be a fun mismatch. Also, the Cowboys over the Panthers is a mismatch as well. So maybe you look at Javonte Williams in that matchup.
You get a little bit of hedge bet.
Yes.
You can bet Dowdle and you can bet the Cowboys.
And then the Colts over the Cardinals, so that would be Jonathan Taylor running all over the Cardinals. So that is the Week 6 Trench Report, available depending on when you're listening to this pod. It released at 9 a.m. Eastern time here on Wednesday, and that's kind of the schedule that we're going to look for moving forward. So if you have not received it in your email, just make sure you go to betterday.com, subscribe. It's free, and you can always view the Trench Report up on betterday.com. Just go to the Research and Analysis tab, where you will find a lot of our research and analysis as we progress throughout the NFL, NBA, NHL, all that stuff as well. We talked about Mackenzie, the Joe Flacco trade. That was really the big news in the NFL that occurred here. And, when looking at the move here, I started to think, what other move are we going to see in the NFL? Like, what's next? What's the next trade to come down? Is it going to be a quarterback? Are we going to see Kirk Cousins on the move? Are we going to see Jameis Winston on the move? Who makes the next move here in the NFL? If you had
I kind of thought the Bengals would go the other way, and the 49ers might be able to get a guy like Hendrickson.
I mean,
who is the sellers?
You think the Bengals would be sellers? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, now I think less so, although they still have him for 8 more games on contract. They probably do at least consider moving him. They could still move him. I don't know. Maybe the Cardinals start selling. Buda Baker gets a last run. Someplace that needs a safety. I'm not sure.
I'd be very curious to see like which teams try and get an upgrade somewhere. Like if we and you know what, there might be another injury that comes down. Like there might be another injury that happens that a team is in need of a quarterback. I do think that
You think Kirk Cousins plays? Free Kirk Cousins.
I do. I think
I
Jameis
don't know why
Winston-
the Bengals and other people have said this. Why didn't the Bengals get Kirk Cousins? Like, is it
Yeah.
too pricey for 8 games?
Maybe. Why didn't they get Jameis Winston?
Why didn't they get Jameis Winston? These guys played last year well. Joe Flacco played last year. I don't know how many games he won.
Could you imagine Jameis Winston throwing the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins down the field? I mean, he's going to throw 3 interceptions. He's going to be just
Right.
like
It
Geno
would be
Smith.
49-48 final.
Speaking of
Great.
Geno, does he get benched? I mean, you
I
traded
think-
for him,
yes.
you signed him.
The fact that they traded for what's his name, Pickett, like I don't really see why it hasn't happened yet. It was kind of curious that they didn't do it versus the Colts, maybe because there's so much water pushing against that dam. They don't want to do it yet.
Mhm.
But I mean, eventually it's gonna. You would think it would happen.
Does Justin Fields get benched?
The injury kind of makes it kind of funky because has he played that badly? This was his first real bad game. First game of the season was good.
Mm-hmm.
Against the Dolphins, he was pretty good numerically. They lost.
They ran the ball well.
Yeah, and then he had his one really bad game with 46 pass attempts for 283,
Mhm.
but yeah, terrible game.
I mean, other quarterbacks around the league, like who else could? I mean, does Tua get benched at some point? Do the Dolphins look to does Zach Wilson start for the Dolphins at some point?
I don't think so because Mike McDaniel probably is in his last days as a Miami Dolphins head coach. But if he doesn't, it's because he resurrected the career of the guy that he's been tied to at the hip that they're going to owe $50 million to next year if they have McDaniel or not. So that's his resurrecting Tua. And he's been resurrected. He's not the worst quarterback in the league. He's like 21st right now on my list here. So that's his hope.
Okay, one last one. Does Caleb Williams get benched? Will Tyson Bagent be the starting quarterback for the Bears at some point this season?
I think there's no chance. If you look at the
Really?
numbers, Caleb Williams hasn't been that bad. The Bears are terrible. But I mean,
Okay.
this is probably on the upper end of like what you would hope in your first season if you're Ben Johnson of turning around Caleb Williams. He's much better than he was last year
Okay,
already.
I guess that's fair. He's only had 2 interceptions, so I guess that's fair. The sack numbers aren't good.
No.
Maybe that's the Caleb Williams effect of holding the ball too long. But
I mean, they scored
Okay.
24 versus the Vikings in a loss, 21
Mhm.
versus the Lions. It wasn't close, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's all right. 31 versus the Cowboys, 25 versus the Raiders. Of their problems, he's not. Their offense in general is not the highest among them.
well, we just hope that they lose coming up here on Monday night against Washington, as the Commanders are part of our trench report.
Yeah, maybe
can
an
always-
over there. Maybe we parlay it with the over there.
Yeah. You can always follow Mackenzie on Twitter at @MacandRivers, where he'll have a lot of NBA data coming up. Obviously, of course, with the NBA season coming up, we gave you a little teaser for a little NBA model that could be coming our way. Don't forget, we have a system play tonight in the NHL with our Vegas Golden Knights. You can hit me up on Twitter at ScottsOnAir. And here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.